Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society at large. I am Father George Ehusani. Today, we would like to discuss the triumph of mediocrity in our society and how we will overcome, how we will get over this triumph of mediocrity, widespread triumph of mediocrity, why our society is the way it is. Now, let me begin by reading a passage from the book of Proverbs, chapter 10, verse 1 to 7. Proverbs, chapter 10, verse 1 to 7. It says, "A wise child makes a glad father, but a foolish child is a mother's grief. Treasures gained by wickedness do not profit, but righteousness delivers from death. The Lord does not let the righteous go hungry, but he thwarts the craving of the wicked. A slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. A child who gathers in summer is prudent, but a child who sleeps in harvest brings shame. Blessings are on the head of the righteous, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. The memory of the righteous is a blessing, but the name of the wicked will rot." Again, I will read from Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2, which says, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people mourn," or the people groan. We have been discussing this whole issue on several episodes of Reflections, the issue of the triumph of mediocrity in our land, the issue of lawlessness, executive lawlessness, the lawlessness on the level of ordinary people on the road. We have been discussing the impunity in our land, monumental corruption. How come all these things are going on in our society? And yet, we're a highly religious society. We are a society where people are desiring to know God and to be close to God and to worship God. We are a society where people are desiring to live lives of peace and prosperity. But these habits of life, these social habits, cannot deliver a society of peace and prosperity. To discuss this matter, a friend of mine, all the way from Michigan, Clarkston, Michigan in the United States, is here to discuss with me. We have had private discussions, especially when I visit Michigan, and he has taken a position that Nigerians have chosen this triumph of mediocrity. Nigerians have chosen to be mediocres. And I say, how can you say that? The Nigerians have chosen lawlessness, have chosen corruption, have chosen impunity. And I say, but how can you say that? I'd like to welcome to the studio Dr. Chukwudi Okonmah. Dr. Chukwudi Okonmah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Father.
Dr. Chukwudi Okonmah just arrived from the United States. He lives there. He's been living there for about 47 years. He left this country in 1970 as a young man, immediately after the war, after the devastating Civil War. And then he went to Dayton University in Ohio, in the United States, came out with summa cum laude, his first degree, first class. And then he went to medical school in the prestigious Columbia University Medical School, where he graduated as a doctor in 1975 and further qualified as a surgeon and expert in internal medicine in 1979. He has been practicing as a consultant surgeon and internist since 1979 in the US. I discovered that when I visit you, you are today in New York, the next day you are in Houston, the next day you are in Florida. And it's like, what kind of work is this? Say you are a consultant in several hospitals across the United States. Can you tell us about it?
Well, I was privileged to have been asked by various organizations to help with their medical facility, and as a result, I have obtain contractual relationship, and I have to travel to those places. In a month, I tend to travel about 4 or 5 different states for medical practice, and these vary from teaching, patient care, some administrative concerns.
Okay, so you teach in teaching hospitals too?
Yes.
Medical students?
And medical doctors that are in residency.
Good. Great. So, and you have done this for nearly 40 years.
Initially, I worked in one hospital, and then after a while, I got involved in doing all this.
Wow. Wonderful. Welcome back to Nigeria.
Thank you, Father.
Dr. Chukwudi has constantly visited Nigeria. And when I was privileged to visit him, we spent all our days discussing Nigeria. And I was quite curious that he took a position. The position he took is that Nigerians have made a choice to live the wrong way. And I said, but how can you say this of my people? Say, no, Nigerians have made a choice to live the wrong way, to cut corners, to break traffic regulations, to rig elections, to do the wrong things. And Nigerians are satisfied with where they are. They are satisfied with a society where the infrastructures don't work. And I'm like, one of these days I need to drag Dr. Chukwudi Okonmah to the studio to explain to our viewers, what do you mean for saying that Nigerians have chosen this, what they call Nigeria Jaga Jaga? What do you mean that Nigerians have chosen Jaga Jaga as our way of life and that we are comfortable with it?
Well, Father, I will start by saying I grew up in this country. I was born in Kaduna. I went the whole extent of the country with no fear, no concerns at all.
About security?
Things were very rosy. As a net result, I gained a lot of experience what Nigeria was at that time. I knew at that time I was about 4 or 5. I even could approach the Sultan of Sokoto and spoke to him almost on a daily basis in Kaduna. I knew all people in leadership, and they each treated you as if they were their own. No one, I did not know any parent who encouraged their children to be corrupt at that time. Because if you came home with a naira that is not yours, they ask you, take it back where you got it from. They refuse until you give them a clear explanation. I picked mangoes. I sold mangoes. The Fulanis and the Guaris, they would come, and every other person will come. They will buy the mangoes. I won't be there. I will go to school. I will come back. My mangoes are correct. My money is correct. Nobody stole at that time. Things were very peaceful. The home I grew up in, at that time, there were no doors. Nobody stole. People respected each other. Nobody was concerned if you were Igbo, Hausa, Christian, or Muslim. I, as a Christian, my parents were Catholics. I attended the Catholic Church. I went to Cherubim and Seraphim. I even celebrated Islamic faith. I went to Quranic school. People were just one. People were treated as people. After the Civil War, Nigeria started falling apart. During the Civil War, people were becoming too tribalistic, were very much into what religion you belong to, and each one then connived to look at each other, every other Nigerian that did not belong to them as a foreigner, and felt they have a right to do whatever they want to do against that person. With the net result, Nigeria became corrupt. If you look at the legacy of people like Zik, Sardauna, and Awolowo, each of them were the premiers of those regions, but they were in competition trying to improve their own people. Today, our governors that I know are trying to subject their own people. They are not trying to be helpful. If you go to the average home today, people have house help. But everybody's busy locking his room because they don't trust the house help.
So even in the same house?
Even in the same house, it happens today. In the past, That never happened. People help one another. An Igbo man will help a Hausa man will help an Igbo man. Yes. Nobody talked about religion. Nobody talked about tribe.
Right.
It was down to the fact that we're all human and we help with each one another. But today, the average Nigerian would say our government is corrupt. What they have not seen is that they
are corrupt.
The corrupt was not the leadership alone. It is a collective corruption. Because you do not see the president that you say rigged the election go and carry the ballot boxes. It's the common man who carries it and rigs it for him and then turns around and says the president is corrupt. So you have garbage in, you get garbage out.
Yeah.
Now, they have gone through this cycle so many times in Nigeria. From the time Obasanjo took office, there was so much goodwill globally. I was glad. I wanted to come back home many times. Each time I come back, I just find it is horrible. I was just explaining to you today, I went and bought an airline ticket. Yesterday, they promised me there's a flight today.
From Masaba
to Abuja. I got to the airline desk today and they told me the flight was canceled. No apologies.
And no pre-information.
No information. They didn't return my money to me. As of this time, they still owe me. I had to go to another airline. This is not obtainable anywhere in the world. Because people accept it. People are allowed to flourish. Therefore, the people are, if you look at the people who run the government, how many are there? Just a fraction, not more than 1% of the population.
Sure.
Then you have 99% of the population complaining of 1%. And they put the 1% in that position. They have elections, they can vote them out.
If we do not accept what they do.
But because the average Nigerian accepts what they do, they don't vote them out, they vote them in back anytime they want. And then they sit and complain.
We have this ugly situation, rather embarrassing, of Nigerians celebrating ex-convicts, somebody who is just been released from prison for monumental corruption, and Nigerians can go and welcome him like a hero coming back home.
Well, that is exactly what I was talking about. When I was little in Nigeria, if you did something wrong, you're ostracized. It's done in every small village. Today, you are celebrated because Nigerians have chosen to celebrate those things today. The majority of the people have agreed that it should be celebrated. They have lost their moral fiber. What they have, they now worship money. And they have sold their soul to money. So if you have the money, you have the naira, Nigerians will worship you.
It doesn't matter how you got it.
It doesn't. No, in fact, the unfortunate thing is when people encourage you to be corrupt. Because if you came home and tell, say, a family member, you see, I really can't make ends meet. They say, what do you mean? Your mates are coming on with this, that. Whatever they are doing, go do it and get it. So
that's directly encouraging.
They tell you, go ahead, and if you have to kill somebody, kill somebody. Go ahead and steal. Go ahead and take what belongs to the public and use it.
And that's why we have unfortunately, we have the expression, the person has done well for himself.
Well,
he has done well for himself.
Those who have done well are probably those people who have actually committed some very terrible things. And they celebrate them. And as long as they are in that mindset, they will continue to have the problem they have.
So it's about creating the mess and spewing in the mess that we have created.
They've created it, and not only have they created it, they're enjoying it.
Are you sure we are enjoying it?
You complain you don't enjoy it, Father, but the problem is they enjoy it. I'll tell you. On Sundays, the churches are crowded. The same people who came to that service are the same people who just go out on Monday and commit the worst crime. So what they do is Nigerians are one of the most intelligent people in the world, but they have chosen to be corrupt.
Is it a matter of choice that they have chosen to be corrupt, or they find themselves in an environment where nothing else works besides cutting corners?
No, they created the corners. I grew up in this country. There were no corners cut. The policeman was my friend when I was little. Today, the policeman, you're not very sure which side is on. Everybody has common knowledge of that. I saw two people who had an accident, and I told them, call the police. They said, no, it cost us more to call the policeman. And they explained it to me. When I was little, I was not afraid to go talk to the police. My father was a policeman, and we all interacted with the policeman. Nobody was taking a bribe from you at that point. So the people in Nigeria have gradually, consistently, and steadily advanced these bad habits and are enjoying it. If you were just coming down the freeway today, how many people did you see drive against the one-way? I mean, you wouldn't find that anywhere. If you do that any place, you will pay.
You pay for it. And he drove against the traffic and has gone scot-free.
And you see, the funny part of the whole thing is when Nigerians leave this country and go other countries, they obey the laws and they behave. But as soon as they land in this country, so they make another choice. And that choice is to do the wrong thing.
I wonder whether the average Nigerian on the streets recognizes that he or she is actually making a choice. You know, there is this expression in Nigeria, oh, I did this, I had to do this, what man go do? I had to do this, meaning I was compelled by circumstances to do this. Do you call that a choice?
Second, you could always say, no, you won't do the wrong thing. And the unfortunate thing, if you do the right thing, you will do well. But they choose, they could have said no, but they say, yes, I'll go join them. Some people say, I've seen people who said, oh, the devil made me. No, you're the devil itself. Are the devil. You're the devil. Because you could have said no. You had a choice. You always have that choice. In fact, there was a time the Nigerians tried to exercise that choice when they had a fuel crisis about 5-6 years ago. I've forgotten when. Mm-hmm. And the government was willing to do whatever they need to make sure. Then somebody made a choice. All of a sudden, all that struggle disappeared. Whatever choice they made, it all went away. They do that every day in everything that you do.
How I wish, the average viewer understands the point that Dr. Chukwudi Okonmah is making, that we are never in a circumstance where we have no choice. We always do have a choice. You decided to take the bribe. You decided to cut corners. You decided to jump the traffic light. You decided to take the one way. You cannot say you don't have a choice. And by the choices we make, the cumulative result of the choices we make, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 choices we make, is the kind of environment we now find ourselves in, where nothing really works in the correct way anymore.
Let me give you an example of something you may find I have tried to come back and practice medicine in this society. The Nigerians have made it difficult. If you try to get the right equipment and drugs, the guy at custom, this want his own bribe, regardless of the fact that this is going to help other people. Then I cannot, in all good conscience, say I'm going to do that, because I make a choice. Everybody has a choice. So many people have come, even for some mission work, where some of them have left in anger because of the problem.
You are bringing some money, some equipment to come and do some philanthropic charity project, and then some official is asking for a bribe.
Yes, they give you a reason this, reason that. It's just like, in fact, the last time I was here, I remember when I was leaving, I bought some artwork made by some of these Hausa friends of mine, because I still have a lot of Hausa people who are friends of mine, and they are good people. I got to the airport and somebody told me something about antiquity. It wasn't an antique. So when he realized that I know the country and I know how it was made, he let me go, but he was waiting for me to give him. I told him I was not going to give him a dime. Now, if I took that out and I showed people, I would advertise this man, his artwork, so that people will come
and buy and gain us dollars.
But the action of this guy would prevent that being done, and it happens every day. It happens every single day. It breaks down. If you went to see somebody in an office today in Nigeria, you want to go see, as they say, Oga. When you go, you talk to the messenger or whatever you want to see, he tells you he's not there.
Oga is not in.
Yeah, as soon as you give him a 5 naira or 10, 20 naira, he say, make I go check if Oga there. And then he'll go check and no. So I forgot Oga there. All he would, because the whole system is corrupt.
So the story changes with little bribe.
It's just the bribe. So when they complain about police taking bribe, even the man on the street is doing the same thing. And for the police to actually get bribe from you, you have to give to him. You have a choice to say,
you are also corrupt.
Yes, you have the choice to say, I'm not going to give you. If everybody tell a policeman or tell that messenger, I'm not going to give you, they will stop asking.
Of course.
So you have a choice to make. If every politician asks you to go rig the election and you refuse to rig the election, then he won't be in office. They will stop asking.
Yes.
So until you begin to exercise that choice, God has given you that freedom of free will. You choose.
I mean, this is one of the most important endowments of humanity according to our faith, the Christian faith.
Every faith, Father.
Yes.
There's no faith that has denied that.
Good. God has given us a choice. You are not a robot. You are not a computer. You are not programmed to fail. You can make a choice. And it is, I mean, that is why the story of Adam and Eve. God said, chapter 2, there is this tree in the Garden of Eden. The fruit of that tree, you may not touch it. You may not eat it. Adam and Eve chose to eat the fruit of the garden, and then they faced the consequences. Now, what you are saying is that, like Adam and Eve that chose, we also, on a daily basis, we are exercising our choice.
Absolutely correct. It's just like the child who goes to school. If you study, you pass. If you don't study, you fail. You choose to do your homework. But in the way the society is, you see, when it's time to go for jam or have these exams and go to university, you see parents trying to struggle for their children when the child really hasn't studied. I have seen Nigerian students, graduates, who can't even write a letter.
It's all over the place.
It's all over. And the problem is Nigerians have to choose to start telling the truth and start having a real conversation and dialogue. They haven't done that.
This is a very serious indictment and assessment, judgment of the Nigerian situation, that Nigerians have made a choice. We have made a choice to live the wrong way. We have made a choice to violate all the rules in the book. Perhaps my people, Nigerians, don't recognize what they call natural law, that there are causes and effects, that effects follow causes. So you make the wrong choices, you build a wrong society. Maybe, perhaps that's the situation?
No. I have talked to a lot of Nigerians. If you go to the marketplace, they know exactly what the problem is. There isn't a market woman that does not know. There isn't the people on the street. They know. They sit down. They talk about it. They are very intelligent people. But then when it comes to making choices, they say, "Now that one I go chop."
So you are saying that my people, Nigerians, know the right thing from the wrong. They can distinguish the right from the wrong.
Yes.
And that they deliberately choose the wrong.
That is absolutely correct.
You know, Jesus Christ did say that the servant who does not know his master's business and nevertheless fails, that servant gets fewer strokes of the cane. But that the servant who knows the master's business, the master's instruction, and violates that instruction, the servant receives many more strokes of the cane. So you are talking about Nigerians knowing the master's business, knowing what is wrong and what is right, and deliberately choosing what is wrong.
Absolutely. Father, it's just in this country, not too long ago, was it the former secretary of the government called Falaye? That's his name, I correct?
Yes.
He was kidnapped. That doesn't happen anywhere.
Well,
if they could kidnap somebody like that.
A serving minister of justice in this country was killed. Until today, we never knew.
So all these things, people are making choices. And it is the choice they make that they just live in the consequences. They understand the consequences, but they want to still continue.
On this note, we will bring this segment of our discussion to an end. And when we come back, we will be discussing with Dr. Okonmah as to, so what's the way forward? What is your advice for Nigerians? Those of us who cannot relocate, who are stuck here, how do we make this place a better society?
Fast food can fill the stomach sometimes, but it hardly ever nourishes the body.
Absolutely not.
And the difference between filling a stomach and nourishing the body is probably the distinction that for me most illustrates the need for deferred gratification.
Why isn't it possible for a husband or a wife to say, I am sorry, please, thank you? These are basic acts of courtesy, and yet it's lacking. Are we grooming more men and women who lack just the basic rules of courtesy?
One survey found Nigerians the most religious people in the world.
Then the next survey.
The corruption index found Nigeria, I think, the second most corrupt country in the world that same year. And then another survey found Nigerians the happiest people on earth. And so we seem to be a society of contradictions.
Welcome back. This is Reflections with Father George Ehusani. I have been discussing with Dr. Chukwudi Okonmah, a consultant surgeon and internist from the United States. He's a consultant that consults for different hospitals across the United States. We are privileged to have him in the studio discussing the choices Nigerians do make. Unfortunately, they are wrong choices. Choices to violate the law, choices to give bribe and take bribe, choices to do the wrong thing, which has ended up giving us a society that is not the kind of society that we really, maybe internally, we really desire. But a result of our choices. Dr. Okonmah, you're welcome back to the studio.
Thank you, Father.
And in the first segment of our discussion, we lamented about the choices Nigerians make, the negative choices that we make to violate the rules, to give bribe, to accept bribe, to jump queues, to cut corners, and as a result, the kind of society we have. Such a deplorable society that people like you, a lot of experts who would like to come back to help out in this country, have remained in England, have remained in the UK, have remained in Germany because they cannot function in the manner in which we are functioning. So I will ask you, what can we do about it? How do we turn our society around? How do we recalibrate the mind of Nigerians, the consciences of Nigerians, so that the values of Nigerians, so that they begin to make the right choices that will deliver to us the right kind of country?
Well, I want to thank you for welcoming me here back again. this studio looks very beautiful.
Thank you.
The first thing Nigerians have to do, they have to collectively decide that they want to change.
Collectively decide that we want to change.
And they have to decide they are tired of the rut they're in. That is the starting point. If that is not done, there will be no change.
We have to decide, one, together, collectively decide to change. We have to say enough is enough. We are tired of the rot.
Until that is done, and the way forward, Nigerians are very intelligent people. In the United States where I live, there are many Nigerian professionals who keep that country running. They can come here. They are globally all over the world. Nigerians know how to run the country. They have people locally here who know what to do. They're in the minority. They don't have a voice. But the majority of the people who can help move things have chosen, for various reasons, not to. Some people get material benefits from it, and they do not look for the common good. Mm-hmm. As a net result, that until they do that, it will never change.
You have introduced a concept that is very close to my heart, the concept of the common good. I am a student of social ethics, and in the Catholic social teachings, the common good is an imperative for a just, peaceful, and prosperous society. Promotion of the common good. That if individuals and groups just go after their own interests, individual good, group good, and they ignore the common good, now we all will perish as a result. We all cannot make progress as a result. But when people serve the common good, then their individual and group goods are involved, are part of the common good. And so everyone is elevated, everyone is uplifted.
The average Nigerian, I would tell you, Father, they know this.
They know this?
They do. Because it was in Nigeria before. I would tell you a story. When I was growing up in Kaduna or in Kano, when it is time for Salah, the Muslims would kill their rams. They would distribute it to all the Christians because they know the Christians weren't celebrating. When the Christians would have Christmas, they will do the same thing in return. When the Muslims were having their fasting period, I participated in it. It was a great thing to do. So at that time, it was common. There was commonality. Nobody asked you where you came from. The Nigerians know all about this. The problem, Father, again, in our last discussion, they just don't want to do it.
So how do we, like I said now, it means some scholar calls it a pedagogy of desire. That Nigerians, in the mind of Nigerians have been worked upon by all these cultural, societal demands and practices and habits, that it now becomes what he calls a pedagogy of desire, meaning the pressures coming from society to make money, to be popular, to go to the village at Christmas and spray money, and so on and so forth. And so people now desire wealth, desire fame, desire popularity. It doesn't matter how the money is made. So how do we recalibrate that pedagogy, that social pedagogy, which have brought Nigerians to where we are today?
Well, Father, you've said something which I probably will not agree with. Wealth is not money.
Okay.
Wealth is greater than money.
Much greater than money, yes.
So, Nigeria has wealth. They don't want it.
Oh, Nigeria has wealth.
Nigeria has people.
Yes.
They have weather that any country in the world would kill for.
Weather. Good weather.
Good weather. Nigeria they do not have electricity supply that is steady. They have the sun. They have the wind. They can harvest all the energy they want. Nigeria has very good intellectuals who can run good schools so that the children are taught very early, so that they can grow up. I had no problem when I was growing up to go to Quranic school and go to Christian catechism. I studied both of them. There was no problem. Nigeria has all these things, Father, and that's wealth. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the money. When I grew up, we speaking about 5-6 different languages in Nigeria. That is wealth.
That's wealth, definitely.
But now it is lost.
Yeah.
So they have the wealth. They just don't want to harvest it. If you ask a Nigerian today, go farm, he will tell you, I can't farm because people will steal it. Because they don't farm the way they used to. I used to walk around in what they call Dalanche, at the pyramids of granite from the north in Kano. I went through that every day to go to school. It's gone.
Pyramids have disappeared. Yeah.
It's not that the earth didn't disappear. The peanuts didn't disappear.
The human beings have stopped
The Nigerians disappeared. That is everything, every strata, until they collectively agree. This is a beautiful country. It has everything God can give a nation.
So what are the mechanisms to make us to collectively agree, as you are saying? What are the mechanisms to get us to collectively? You came out of this place, so I believe that your heart is still here. So while you are there and you guys are discussing the plight of Nigeria, the woes of Nigeria, I believe by now you should be coming up with mechanisms, strategies, modalities to prod us, to nudge us, so that we can collectively agree, as you say.
Well, to prod, you have to agree you're human. And you have to agree you want something that is better than what you have. 2, our education system is rotten. It's rotten.
And you need an educational system.
When I was in primary 3 or 4, I was writing letters for my parents and for my people around the neighborhood. It doesn't matter if that person was a Hausa person or a Igbo person or Yoruba person. Say, oh, my Peking, make you come write this thing for me. And you wrote. So, and that person doesn't have to reward you with anything. Just you have the joy and pleasure of
service.
Doing it, serving. So people get served to the, and that same lady would make akara or moi moi, whatever, and say, my Peking, come chop. And it was just like a whole village. But today, the Nigerians don't want it. And even the people in leadership, they take pride. My son is in this school, is in England, is in this and that. And Ibadan, when it started, and Ife were one of the best schools in the world.
For sure.
It's not that way today. Because we chose not to keep it that way. Look at your roads. You build a road today, how many of them are kept up? The whole mentality goes through. They see a good road, they say it's nice. The next week is all bad road. They defecate in it, they put dirt in it, it becomes a boiler. We're doing it. Nobody's doing it for Nigerians. The Nigerians do it for themselves. I remember once I traveled from Owerri to Port Harcourt, there was stench on all over the road from that place. People were busy putting all that thing there. So Nigerians they are the problem, and they have to agree. And education is one, morals is another thing which they've lost. You read so much immorality going on and the things that goes on. Nobody cares. People have to become patriotic. People have to have love for the country. People just look at Nigeria. They look at the government as an entity. I take my own, I go.
I just harvest from it.
Yeah, they don't look at the government as this is something I have to nurture so that the children, the people of tomorrow, will be proud of what we've done. No.
Legacy building. Nigerians are not thinking of building living legacies.
They don't care about legacy. Today, they don't. When I say don't, I'm indicting a lot of Nigerians by saying what I've said, because if just enough would only agree, I know some people are trying, but the majority are not. And you cannot.
So you have mentioned education. We need to revisit our educational system.
Sure.
And right?
Morals.
Of course, morals as part of the structure of education.
Correct.
Right now, what we even have some good private schools, but I wonder how much morals are taught in those even good private schools that we have. How do we get back? I mean, we have young people now, people who are 30 years or thereabout, have no idea of how things used to be that you have described.
Well,
they have no such idea. They are born into a society that is like this. And perhaps those of them who dream of living in a better society, the idea of living in a better society is just to leave, to go to England, to go to the US, to go to wherever. But they do not, many people do not think there is anything I can do about transforming the situation.
One thing that Nigerians should know, Nigeria is about half the population of the United States.
Yes.
The amount of talent and opportunity is greater here than there. The educational system must change. The focus, they should teach people to be patriotic. There was a time we were very patriotic. Most Nigerians, like Zeke, when they travel out, they want to come back home. They studied and came back home.
Yes.
When I left this country, my first desire was to study and come back home.
Yes.
When I was out in the States, the people were asking me to come back home. At a point, say, stay there, don't come back, because the place is just not worth coming back to.
And it got worse and worse.
It got worse, and I keep coming here every year, sometimes twice, just to see what can I contribute. And as I talk to people, I see the hopelessness. They are not ready. They have to, you see, like God has given us this, it's choose. He gives us free will, and they have made that choice. And even though we've said morals and schools and this and that, they'll listen to this and they're not going to do it. I'm not the first one to say this.
I think that perhaps the kind of education we have, educational structures we have operated in this country for many decades, they are not perhaps functional enough. I mean, we need to move beyond education or a pedagogy for knowledge acquisition, acquire a certain body of knowledge, to education for competence, where people are equipped with values and life habits such as discipline, deferred gratification, sacrifice, service of the common good. I believe that perhaps these are missing ingredients in our educational infrastructure. A situation where people go to school, I mean, you know that up till now in the universities, you graduate, you get a degree, and the degree says you have been found worthy of this degree in knowledge and character. Now, it says knowledge and character, but what quality of character is in this young person that you are awarding this degree? How is that character assessed, if ever anything is done? But yet the degree says you are found worthy in knowledge and character. This guy may be a cultist, violent cultist. This guy may be a rogue. This guy may be a prostitute. This lady may be a prostitute. And yet he gets a degree that says you have been found worthy in knowledge and character.
Well, Father, the way I say it, they are not talking of the same knowledge and character we two are talking about.
I see.
Their knowledge and character is actually the character and knowledge of those choices we've been talking about.
Wow.
That's what they are found worthy of. So it depends on how you read it, because a lot of those people can't read or write. They're the people who are armed robbers. They're the people who, but they say they found them worthy. So they found them worthy because if they had knowledge and character the way we are talking, they will not be engaged in those things.
We have work to do. We really have a lot of work to do to, like I say, recalibrate our minds, the minds of Nigerians. I mean, we have shared this a lot of times, particularly in your house in Michigan, and I came back home really distressed, and I said to the people in the chaplaincy where I pastor that, look, my friend Dr. Okonmah says that we have chosen this mess, to spew in this mess, that we like it this way. And I'm like, no, I'm not happy about that we like it this way, because I don't like it this way. I have lived briefly in the United States. I lived briefly in Germany. And I know that I was more comfortable with the environment in terms of order, discipline, and law, and people being law-abiding, and you can predict what will happen. But at this situation we find ourselves in, I didn't choose, but unfortunately I'm part of those you have put together as choosing.
Well, the reason I say that is there are few that are different,
Yeah.
but the majority have chosen.
Yes.
Look, the problem,
and the majority have chosen, and even attempting to suck in the few who are making an attempt.
they make life difficult for you if you don't join them.
Yeah.
It's just like this is very sad. When you come to a society that does not value human life, to me is a failed society. I was going with a driver, and there was a cops on the street.
Cops.
Yes. Everybody was passing. Nobody stopped. Cars ran over it. Nobody stopped. So I asked him, I said,
What's going on here?
what's going on? He said, I can't stop. If you go tell police that there's a problem here, he will say, how did you know you killed the person? So he just doesn't want to deal with it.
No, I mean, clearly, you know.
Then you start looking of how to pay your way out of the whole mess. He told me, I said, well, that makes, so people just, the society doesn't care. Tomorrow you hear this group killed this number of people, these people invaded this village, and that never happened. When I was growing up in Northern, I went to the villages of this Fulani people, this Gwari people and all this, spent time with them and had a wonderful time. Today, people just go and destroy villages, destroy places, and they are forgotten. The whole world is asking about the Chibok girls. People here have forgotten all about it.
I moved on.
And each time I go to places, people say, what do you know about the Chibok girls? Are they out? I said, at the back of my mind, I said, why are you asking about them? The people who should really be asking don't care. They don't care.
Yeah. So there is a way that, okay, first of all, we make the choices, and after some time, it's as if the choices now make us.
It's a way of life. Though.
Yeah, the choices now configure us along the pattern of the choices we have been making, and then we find ourselves living in that kind of society of our cumulative choice.
True.
And I am still at pains as to how do we get out of this cul-de-sac? How do we get out of this trap, as it were?
Well, again, there is only one way out. Just the way you made the choice earlier, you make the choice out. What do you do to get out? Those things you've rejected earlier. Morals, education, take care of your fellow human being. You see, most people don't realize we're in transit in this world. We'll all come, we'll all go. And what is most important is, what did we do while we're alive? Nigerians they don't care about that.
They live for the now.
They live for now, and whatever. It's just, I tell you, I went to an event on the 6th. There was a gentleman who came from England. He gave a lecture, beautiful lecture. By the time we were done, they've stolen his briefcase and everything.
Yeah, what a sad story. I heard it. I mean, there's somebody came from England for an event, and then his passport, his wallet, everything
was taken. Now, listen to the sad part is, people saw him.
The cameras recorded it.
And people let him go away with it without stopping him. In a lot of places, people will stop him. So these are the choices. So there was a collective agreement
not to
stop him. And this man who left his home, came here, just would not want to come back.
Yeah.
So when I talk about the choice, there were many people. What did they do? Then they got the police and everybody looking for this guy. If it were in other places, you have somebody's picture, within hours, the people will tell you.
Not just a static picture, you have the video of the person.
Yes.
So,
but nobody knows him. And he was dressed in a particular way where somebody should know him. And acted, and they saw when he took the bag, he took it, walked away. Everybody saw him. Even the security people saw him. But nobody knows him. That's what I meant by the choice they've made. That is a very good example of the kind of choices they make. They see everybody. They see you steal. They see you kill. They see you do this. They see you do injustice to your fellow human being. They just move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very sad situation what has come now. And in fact, we even have a more terrible scenario where in the social media, the kind of images people pass around, that headless bodies, gory pictures of dying persons, and people are sharing it as if
human life has no value
anymore.
That is the problem, and it's a failed society.
Yeah. I mean, it's I have in my writings often described the country as a failed society. A lot of people who are I don't know whether that is patriotism, who are very patriotic, as it were. Why would you say it's a failed society? It's things are still working. After all, you are able to go to work and return. So when you talk about a failed society, do we all need to be dead before we acknowledge that it's a failed society? When societies exist, governments exist to protect the life and property of the citizens, to protect the innocent person from the activities of the criminals, to protect the poor against the excesses of the rich and powerful. Now, when all this is not happening, when the poor cannot be protected against the excesses of the rich, and when the innocent cannot be protected against the excesses of the criminal, how do you say we still have a society? You have a jungle, and you have individuals with their idiosyncrasies functioning, and one is not taking care of the other. That's not a society, a human society.
Father, the people who criticize you for saying that the society is not a failed society, they are the major problems. They are the problem because they are not honest to themselves. If that dead person I just described earlier were to be his own father or his own mother,
he will react differently. Now, let me hear from you something positive, so that we don't end this discussion.
Well,
what do you have to say about Nigeria?
I love Nigeria.
Wonderful.
I would love very much to do all I can to bring Nigeria to the paradise it used to be, because it's a paradise we lost, where children grew up as children. People knew how to be patriotic, where people did what every human being, what everybody wants, a peaceful place. Right now, I don't want to come if I go to the airport, I'm busy grabbing my bag. I don't need any of those things. I want a place that is peaceful. I will do whatever I have to contribute to make it happen.
Good.
Those I will do. And those things are very, very simple. Just do the right thing.
And the country will repair
And the country will repair itself. But if you continue doing the wrong thing, knowing fully well is the wrong thing, then it will never repair itself.
On that note, we shall bring this program to an end. I have been speaking with Dr. Okonmah, who practices medicine, consultant, surgeon, and internist in Michigan, United States. He consults all over the United States. It's good to have you in the studio, and I hope when we come back next time, if you visit next year, that we'll have more cheering things to say about the country as we try using the programs like this and other such programs all over the place to nudge our people to change.
Father, I will do whatever is necessary to get Nigeria. I love this country. It has so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
On that note,
thank you.
We'll end the program. Thank you, viewers, for being with us, and we look forward to a better country where we can be in a studio like this to discuss positive attributes of Nigerians. Thank you.